Next, we're going to welcome Matt Still. Matt is a solutions engineer working for Esri out of Charlotte. He graduated from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte and studied geography and GIS. He has since been working on the technical sales team in the Charlotte office and focuses on web GIS, primarily with local government users. Matt will be telling us about the Esri Modular mobile suite of apps. Matt, take it away.
Ouch. Okay, so I did not think of the title for this presentation. I don't know where that came from, but whatever, we'll go with it. So what's cool is that the previous presenters talked about Collector and Survey 123, and Justin's going to come up in a little bit and talk about Workforce for ArcGIS. And so they're coming from a solutions perspective. How does it solve a particular need? What were they using that particular app to accomplish? In my case, coming from a vendor perspective, I'm going to talk about the actual applications and maybe introduce you to some you haven't heard of. Obviously, you've just heard about Collector and Survey 123, and so I just want to very quickly go over a couple of them. Maybe you haven't seen before, or maybe you didn't think about that particular use for them. So one of the things we have here, and I realize it's very tiny and I never expected you to read this, but this is kind of a flow chart for how you can pick the app that you might be interested in. And so on the left side in the green is apps for the field, in the middle are apps for the office, and then on the right are apps for the community. And so you might go down this chart, esri.com/apps, and take a look at it and say, okay, is my app something that I'm going to need map-based collection? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, then let's use Collector. And if the answer is no, I'm going to be form-based, then maybe the answer will be Survey 123. Or maybe that's not what I'm into. I'm not doing collecting information. I'm more about managing my workforce. Well, then we have an application called Workforce for ArcGIS, and so on and so forth, and we'll eventually point you in the right direction to the application that might automatically advance my slide. That's fine. I was going there anyway. So the whole idea here is that we're going to support the entire field operations with your applications, and that could be Workforce. It could be Navigator. It could be Collector or Survey 123, or maybe you're wanting to look at all of that information that has been collected and maintained and modified, and you want to look at it from an operations viewpoint and see that on an operations dashboard, which a lot of people don't see that as a mobile tool, but it can be because it'll run on a mobile device where you can actually sit there and take a look at what information is being collected and maintained and view it in an analytical sort of way. One of the kind of tools that we like to use here, this is a more simplified version, is how can you utilize these different capabilities to plan with your information, to coordinate your field crew, to help them navigate to get there, to help them capture the data, and then to help them monitor that information as it's being collected. And so Esri is trying to provide these different tools that fit each one of those needs. So planning might actually be using a desktop software. If you talk to anybody at Esri now, we're going to say, take a look at ArcGIS Pro. You definitely need to look at that. We're heading that direction. And so maybe that's going to be your tool for helping you to begin planning where those needs are. And then to actually coordinate where your workforce is going to go, we have an application called Workforce for ArcGIS. To help them get there, you may want to use Navigator to use either commercially available streets. Why is my slide going? Anyway, or you could use your own data. Once they get there, how are they going to capture that information? Are they going to use Survey 123? Are they going to use Collector? Are they going to use drone to map? Maybe they're actually going to fly a drone and collect that information and take it back to the office to post-process. And then finally monitor that information using Operations Dashboard. So I want to just talk at a very high level about each one of these. We've already seen some examples of Collector, and so it's for map-based data collection. You start with a map and you collect some information. You can use it online or offline. It works on iOS, it works on Android, it works on Windows devices, and it supports, this is relatively new, it supports external receivers, so you can get increased accuracy with that. So if you look at a basic workflow of what this is, all right, I'm going to collect a new feature, and that feature, in this case, might be damage assessment. So I want to pick, is it destroyed, is it majorly damaged, is it minor, or is it affected or inaccessible? Once I've selected that, I'm going to fill out some attributes about that particular thing, and we got to see some examples of that. And then once I fill out those attributes, maybe I'm going to either click on the map to locate it, or I'm going to use that GPS device, whether it's the one that's built into your phone or a tablet, or whether it's one of those external devices. You'll be able to collect the location that way, and then synchronize that back with the server, either via your Wi-Fi or data plan, or once you get back onto a network, maybe if you're doing the disconnected environment. Workforce for ArcGIS, Justin's going to talk about that in a little bit, but at a high level, it's an application for making assignments to your particular workforce. And there are two components to this. There's a dispatcher view, which someone back at the office can say, hey, we have this list of assignments or tasks or things, and we want to assign it to different crew members based off of their proximity, or based off of their skill set, or their equipment that's available, or maybe just their workload, what's available to them. And so that's done in a browser-based interface. And then the workforce, the crew member themselves, have a workforce mobile application that will they'll receive that assignment, and they'll have the details behind it, and they'll be able to do the work with that. So you can dispatch those assignments. You can report those stats back, the status of those assignments back to the office, and then it works with other apps. So we use this concept called app pairing. So one of the things I'll show you in a screenshot real quick here is some of that app pairing. So real quick, maybe I'm looking at an assignment on my mobile device. I've been assigned to do a valve inspection. And once I see that pop up on my screen, I'm going to select it, and it's going to say, hey, here's the location of that valve inspection and any details that go along with that, what I need to accomplish. And then once I've selected that assignment, for myself, then up in the top right, sorry, it's a little hard to see, but in the top right corner, we can choose the options. I can navigate to that assignment, which will launch the Navigator app. I can choose to collect at that assignment, which will launch Collector, or I can choose to create a survey at that assignment, which obviously will open up Survey 1, 2, 3. So we can pair these apps together. So actually that assignment can say, do a valve inspection. And if I say, all right, I want to navigate to that assignment, it'll launch Navigator, route me to that location. And once I'm there, kick me back over to the workforce. Maybe I can type in some information about starting that particular assignment, some details about that. And then I say, maybe I want to do collect at this assignment. And that can actually launch Collector with a specific web map that is detailed specifically for that particular valve inspection, or whatever the water feature is in that case, and launch that particular app. So we're pairing these apps together to accomplish a particular project or task. So Navigator, and we'll just go ahead and skip right over to this. It is an application, again, that runs on your mobile device to help you do exactly what the name says, which is to navigate you there. And what's neat about it is we provide commercial data for whatever state you happen to be in, and you download it locally to your device. So you don't have to worry about having data connectivity or anything like that. You get local, turn-by-turn voiced directions on how to get to whatever your location is. But you can also use your own data. So if you've got a great street network that you love and you want to use that instead of this commercial product, you can do that, and you can create that and load that onto your devices instead. Like I said, it works disconnected, which is great because you don't need that connectivity. And then, as I mentioned with the workforce, it pairs well with other apps so that you can actually link directly to whatever the project is you're doing. So in this case, it's really simple. I mean, if you used Google or Waze or anything else before, you're pretty familiar with what a navigation app does. So, it gives you turn-by-turn directions. It'll give you the little voice dialogue to say turn right or whatever it happens to be. You can also do route optimization, so you can put multiple routes into that particular thing. But one of the other things that it allows you to do is it allows you to route to a particular feature. So maybe you don't have an address. Maybe you have a hydrant ID, and you want to route to that instead of having to know what the address is. Navigator can do that right out of the box. A minute left. Okay, so Survey 1, 2, 3, we'll do that quick. You've seen an example of that. Instead of being map-based like Collector is, it is form-based. So it's all about filling out the forms. It has smart forms. that they figure out what you want them to do, so they can reveal questions based off of what your audience is looking for. In this particular example, if I click, is the manhole secured? If I say yes, then it gives me options for saying, well, how is it secured? If I say no, well, then I don't need to see that question about how it's secured. And then it also does some limitations or constraints or things. So if the number of vent holes has to be less than 16, if I type in 50, it says, that doesn't fit. An operations dashboard is the last little thing. This is all about real-time monitoring information. So you can see your data instead of just dots on a map or instead of just tabular information. You can see charts and gauges and graphs and lists and things like that that allow you to monitor that information. And what's neat about it is it'll run, it's got a native application, but you can run it directly in a browser, which means you can open up on a tablet and be able to see that information live as it's coming in from the field. So last slide. There's a lot of apps out there that maybe you haven't seen before. Most of them are included with ArcGIS Online. They all use ArcGIS Online, your username and password, to log into them and begin using that. But think about them for not just collecting information, but also getting your field crew there and assigning the appropriate task to them. And then once they're done, monitoring that information. That's it.